So you guys understand what this all is. The Athletic Movement Index is a biomechanical test that can give us a lot of information on lower extremity mechanics, how they contribute to injury risk and or an already occurred injury. So this can be performed on athletes to help identify those that are at risk because of faulty movement patterns. It can be used on athletes that are having some trouble getting to that next step in their performance level because they have faulty movement patterns. And then it can be used in an already injured athlete or patient, frankly, of any activity level to help potentially identify causes as to why that injury occurred, if it was a non-contact injury, and can help us in the rehab process to identify some things that we need to work on that we may not be able to find from more traditional evaluative tests. It will give us an idea of asymmetry between right and left leg, so if there's only one leg that's injured, again, we can see some differences, and especially if it's post-surgical like an ACL, it can give us information on return to the sport. Just because you test out well on a manual muscle test or you can squat, if you're below 85% of the other leg on some of these things, it's been verified and validated through research that you are at a significantly higher injury risk and not necessarily ready to go back even though your pain is gone and some of those other things test out okay. We'll go through the full test now. When we have a patient or a client, just one of them, usually we just need one of us, it's real easy. The setup process actually takes about as long as the test itself.
Sorry.
No problem. If we're testing multiple clients or a team, then there'll be at least two of us there so we can get people set up with these things first so that everyone's ready when it's their turn. Boom, boom, boom. So, there we go.
One quick question.
Yes.
Can it be, I realize you'd want symmetry, but can it be, is appendage specific for just arms or just legs?
We're only lower extremity.
Okay.
Core and lower extremity at this point.
Okay.
So low back pain and down would be indicated for the test.
Okay.
There is no upper extremity biomechanical injury risk assessment tool on the market because there's way too much going on with the upper extremity, and science and technology has not caught up with the ability to effectively assess that wide range of motion, whereas the lower extremity joints, especially the knee, you know, not so much
Very
going on.
isolated, yeah.
You know?
Thank you.
Yep. And again, it can be used on anyone, you know, around the 12-year-old range, not much younger than that because of all the growing changes that will happen, all the way up to 100. Very active to not as much. We use it with work comp patients, you know, to help identify why they got hurt. And again, it's very effective when you have a client that has a diffuse non-contact, I didn't fall in a hole and sprain my ankle, just I have this random knee pain, it won't go away, I've tried this, I've tried that. That's a great person to have go through this test. If they're a patient, it is covered by insurance. If they're not a patient, it is cash-based, and we're working with Rachel. Once you guys all see it, we're gonna work on some packages where there may be a lower price, and we're gonna try to pair it with personal training based off of the findings of the test. So it is a medically based personal training package, including the test, and then retest after, you know, the 6 sessions or whatever it is.
I have a question about that though.
Yes.
When you say it's out of pocket if you're not a client, but wouldn't we send someone to Alex ahead of time for him to assess to a point before using you,
You could.
and then they become a patient?
That's right.
And then it's insurance based.
That would be.
Wouldn't that be the
That would
logical?
be a convenient route to go.
Yeah.
If the person was purely injury risk, like you happen to be working with a high school athlete and you're watching their mechanics and they look like that,
Right.
then that would be somebody that would not be able to be a patient. 'Cause they
Or
don't
just
actually have
risk,
pain.
no pain or anything.
Right.
They've compensated themselves.
Right.
So they're not in pain.
And you're concerned because at some point they will get hurt if
Right.
they continue to do that,
Right,
especially
right,
as
right.
they advance in their career.
Right.
So that would be someone that would be cash. Anybody else, if they're having pain, absolutely.
Yeah.
Might as well go through, they're
Right.
probably gonna need therapy anyway. But the goal will still be, and I think that's the point in a facility like this especially, is to get them out of our hands and back into yours
Mm.
as soon as we can. Sometimes that's in conjunction, sometimes it's let's take a little break from that, focus on this, and then back to you guys. Yaakov, how do you spell your name? First name?
Y-double-A-K-O-V.
Last
So
name?
the test
Bar,
will, show certain weaknesses that we would then talk to the trainers about and say, okay, these are the things that we saw, these are the kind of exercises that would be helpful for you guys to work on to help to kind of streamline your treatment plan.
But can you ultimately correct the misalignment or the imbalance or the weak, I mean, I know you can correct the weakness, but if you're born, I have a daughter who was born, and when she straightens out her legs, this knee medially rotates in. She's been to physical therapy, she swims because that's a non-impact, and she's good at it. She's in college and she competitively swims. But always having issues, always in pain in her knees. Can she ultimately correct that knee to where it's supposed to be?
Improve.
Improve, yeah.
Only improve, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not only, I understand.
Sure.
But,
Improve lowering injury risk, decreasing pain, improving
okay,
the mechanics.
okay.
I have the same thing, when I put my feet together, this knee goes this way.
Absolutely.
So I have to correct my mechanics.
Yeah, it's one of the most common things that I see of
So we
everybody.
then that's the advantage of going through therapy, not just having the test, because then we can fully assess everything else going on. We correlate the findings of this. If you do X, is it because you're weak? If so, where? Is it the foot? Is it the hip? Is it the knee? Is it the core? And do you have a mobility issue? Do you have a flexibility or a hip joint restriction that through mobilization, not exercise, but through hands-on techniques that we can free up to allow your body to get into a better place? We see it all the time. I'm bow-legged, I was born that way. So my mechanics are what they are, but within that, I still have some hip weakness that creates some knee pain sometimes. I'm a long distance runner, so when I get out of my routine of doing my exercises, my pain comes back. When I get back in, it goes away. So yes, it can't fix everything, but it can almost always improve and lower that risk. So when we do the test, you'll get a score. Yaakov will get a score today of being either low risk, medium risk, or high risk for injury, okay? And if he is high risk, our first goal is to get him to medium, and then you go from there. It's not to go from high risk to zero risk. So there's grades, there's levels, there's always something we can do, right-handed or left-handed.
Right.
Main sport or activity. Do you run?
Bodybuilding.
Okay.
Oh, now,
We will go. Other. Any history of ACL injury on either leg?
no ACL.
Any history of, I don't know the answer, but, so previous injury on the left lower extremity?
No, it's not on the left.
Not on the left, right?
Right. Just issue with the patella tendon.
And currently having that same problem on the right and nothing on the left? Any history of concussion?
I wasn't reminded about the grant located within the bridge people. That's why I was like, I had to think about it.
Been a while,
One
it's
day.
gonna stay a while.
Yeah. I don't see it.
Donna just texted my niece, she's gonna pound it and
Oh, oh. How's your scar?
Can we get this done pro bono also?
Yaakov can.
Okay.
What, I don't remember the cost.
She didn't tell us.
Yeah.
I
That's
heard
why
the
you remember.
the insurance side of it.
Uh-huh.
If you are Joe Schmo off the street walking to one of my other centers, it's $175 for the test, analysis, and some corrective work in one session.
Yaakov, how much you charging?
And then there's packages from there in our other clinics where we bring in either ourselves or we bring in some trainers that we employ in other parts of the county. Yeah.
So 175 for how many hours? Like, if you're saying corrective exercises are included with the diagnostic,
Correct.
okay, and it's 175, that's not bad.
One session, a test, analysis, let's work on a couple things based off of what I find.
Okay.
For here, it's gonna be less, and that will be kind of like an a la carte option, but we're going to push and advertise the test plus X number of training sessions with your trainer, 3, 6, whatever, maybe options based on pricing, that'll lower the price point for the test. And basically what we do when we have these types of relationships, we have one set up in Virginia with a Performance Institute there. They charge the client X number of dollars, and they just pay us a check every month for however many they've done for what our cut of it is for that.
How about for us? Only because if we get this done, it gives us a little better sense of what the deal is.
Yeah,
So-
personally, just to kind of try it out.
We'll
yeah.
figure that out. Rachel and I are meeting at some point.
That's an epidural.
You really? You okay with needles?
That's how the pain goes away.
Yeah.
You would like that.
Stand up straight.
So obviously this goes faster when we're not educating an audience, we're educating the patient, but a lot of times that's even done before the day of the test because we've talked about it. So the first few movements that we're gonna be doing, the sensors will be on his lower back. And then about midway through, a little bit less than midway through, the sensors come off the back and they get attached to the holders that Alex is getting ready now on the shins, so the remaining stuff.
Yep.
There's the motions will be plank, side plank, double leg squat, single leg squat, single leg hop, something called a hop plant, and then the last thing we do is an ankle lunge, which just clears out the flexibility of the at the ankle. Because one of the big things that this is measuring in the single leg activities is your tibial inclination angle. So we have to standardize what his normal ankle flexibility is to know that if his tibial inclination angle is low in a certain movement, is that because he doesn't have ankle flexibility, or is it because of weakness? Is it fear avoidance? All that stuff goes together. And again, correlates with what we see in our full evaluation if they're a patient too.
Would you ever work with like somebody that has MS or at that level?
So it would depend on how active they
far
were.
off
Yeah,
they are?
like if they were just coming off of like a remission or something,